Hello, and welcome back to this episode of Fully Expressed. It has certainly been a couple of weeks since my last episode. I believe in my last episode, I was talking and really going into detail after my Raw, Wild, and Free retreat about what it means to be your raw self. And so today we're going to continue on with that theme and we're going to start to dive into and unpack the archetype of the wild woman and what she represents, what she embodies, and some of the underlying themes that we went through in the retreat. Obviously, not in as much detail, but I really want to dive into this topic because these elements really work well together. And so I want to dive into them individually for you to be able to understand the theme and the topic around what I teach at my retreats. So make yourself comfortable and let's dive in. So, wild woman, it can sort of give off this sense of, and I think this may have come up in Raw as well, but wild woman can almost give off this sense of carefree and sort of potentially reckless persona. But what we're talking about is really, actually I'm going to take that back. The interpretation of wild woman or your wild woman is completely up to you. You are the one that decides what this means and what this looks like for you. I'm going to go into some of the basic fundamentals that she represents and that she values. But something that came up and really landed for me at the retreat personally, because with every retreat that I hold, I am also going through my own process of healing and undoing another layer of myself. So this really became apparent to me as I was going through the retreat, and particularly after we had the most amazing breathwork, shamanic breathwork session with Christina. And the concept of your wild woman is totally up to you. Like, my idea and my interpretation of what my wild woman is may be completely different to yours. So please take what I say as a guide and then start to really dive in and ask yourself the questions, well, who is my wild woman? What does she look like? And that's what I sort of want to get you along the thinking, that's what I want to get you thinking about. Sorry, I'm running on little sleep and lots of inspirational creativity that's coming through all at once with this powerful new moon energy. So forgive me if I stumble on my words at the moment. So the wild woman. So what do you think about when I say to you, who is your wild woman? What sort of things come to mind? I would love to know and find out what this is for you, what this is for each of you. So the wild woman is a lot of things, but mostly when I think about the wild woman, she is that woman that is really grounded, really balanced and centered within herself. She exudes a certain confidence within herself because she is so empowered, but also carefree in the sense that doesn't, she's unrestrained almost, and she doesn't really run or buy into any of the fear stories or any of these things that society places on us, or perhaps that we have been trained in or we have adopted along our life. And so she is one with herself, but she is really one with nature. She loves being outdoors. She loves connecting to nature, being amongst the trees and the flowers and listening to the birds and nature. She is very much creative. She's a creative being. She is able to channel her creative energy into whatever outlet that looks like for her. So it could be anything from singing and dancing, painting. It could be crafting or doing something with her hands or her body, and really fully immersing herself into the presence of her creativity and being able to channel her energy, channel her love into creation. And she does this in a way that's really sacred to her, and it is almost a ritual or practice that she does, which means that she's able to connect deeply to her feminine. She's able to connect more to herself, to her abilities, to her gifts. And she's potentially quite intuitive. She is very receptive and open to energies in all forms. She is almost has a secret dialogue or a secret understanding, particularly when it comes to the elements and the earth. She is very nurturing, she's very motherly, but the number one thing to remember is that she looks after herself first and foremost through honoring her own needs. And this is something that she is really firm on, and she is really committed to upholding. And the key aspect to this is really understanding who your wild woman is. What does she need? What does she really value in her life? Perhaps she is someone who needs a lot of personal space or time to themselves to really be able to be in their own energy, to be able to ground and center and come into balance with themselves before they interact with the rest of the world and the rest of humanity. So understanding her needs will allow you to understand who she is. So something that you can do, and this is a little tip from the retreat, something that you can do to understand what she needs. Because without understanding who she is, you might not know what she needs. So I want you to think about the wild woman and what she's starting to look like and what she's starting to feel like. She's deeply intuitive, instinctive. She's confident and expressive and creative and nurturing, but also strong and fearless and carefree and sensitive. And if you were to think about where you are now in relation to the wild woman archetype and being able to connect to her, thinking about what you need to connect to those attributes more. What do you need to be able to feel grounded and balanced and empowered? What do you need to feel nurtured and supported? What do you need to feel creative? What do you need to be able to create and express yourself creatively? What do you need to feel a oneness with the earth and with nature and everything in it? And how can you connect more to your feminine energy and your intuition? Those are the questions that I would be asking yourself to allow you then to be able to break down the ideology of your wild woman, of your inner wild woman. That is a really great starting point for you. So listen back to those questions because I probably won't remember them, but it's almost reverse psychology or whatever the terminology is of understanding who your wild woman is. And so I want to talk a little bit about the importance of you connecting to your wild woman. And this is going to come from a place of personal experience mostly. Excuse me. And so what is the cost of you not being connected to your inner wild woman? So some of the things that we just spoke about, so being deeply connected, grounded, balanced, confident, creative, expressive, and intuitive. So if we were to think that if we are not connected to those things, then we are disconnected. We're disconnected from our innate feminine essence of who we are, because when it comes down to it, we are all wild women. We all possess a little bit of wild woman archetype. And what could potentially be happening or has happened to you at some point in your life is that you become disconnected from this part of yourself or from these aspects of yourself. And this happens so commonly because we live in a society that has so many distractions and tasks, and we live in this fast-paced society that has allowed us to become disconnected not only to ourselves but to these aspects, these deeper instinctual parts of us that make up who we are. And so when we look at disconnection, we can start to link it to things like burnout and overwhelm, stress, anxiety, falling into the stories around self-doubt and lack and fear, uncertainty, and not having the ability to trust yourself and believe in yourself. And these are just a couple of the things. There are a lot more that come with not being connected to your wild woman. So that's the cost of disconnecting from your inner wild woman versus what we spoke about at the beginning of who she is. She's exudes this beautiful, soft confidence, and she's able to kind of just allow herself to flow with life. And when you're able to find your flow and find your connection with your inner wild woman, everything starts to feel less resistant, and it just starts to feel more aligned, because you are falling into alignment with a part of you that is your true and raw essence. And when you are doing that, you are coming back to your soul, you are coming back to your true essence underneath all of the potentially layers of conditioning or suppression or restraint that you've had to place upon yourself, or that has been placed upon you. So so moving on from that, so if those are the things that are, I guess, maybe situations where you might find yourself right now, what I would say to you is have a look at the aspect that you feel most disconnected from in your wild woman, and ask yourself, which is the one that is probably the most prominent in my life right now? Is it my inability to be seen as me and who I really am? Do I have to put on a mask when I am with other people, around certain people, at work, potentially around family? Do I feel free? Do I feel like I am able to make my own choices? Am I able to make good choices for myself? How do I feel? And this is a big one, because the wild woman is all about feeling. Remember, she is deeply connected to the earth. So she is open, and she allows herself to feel. She allows herself to receive, and to be able to receive intuitive insights into herself. She is deeply connected to nature, to the earth, to her creativity. So being able to feel might be the thing that you need to focus on to be able to connect to your inner wild woman. And this would probably be a very good starting point, because, like I say, in everything that I do, it all comes down to connection. And you need the connection to be able to feel, to be able to process. And this is a lot of the work that we do at the Raw, Wild and Free retreat, where we are reconnecting back to ourselves, our body, our emotions, and we're starting to bring up some of these suppressed emotions, or potentially wounds or beliefs that you are carrying around with you that doesn't align with your wild woman. And so when we start to undo some of these aspects, then you will find yourself creating more space. You will start to crack yourself open and really start to connect more with yourself and your wild woman on a deeper level, that you become more connected to her, but you also start to understand her on a deeper level, who she is, what she needs, what she values, what are her boundaries. And this is what it all comes down to, really, in the end, is understanding yourself on such a deep level, knowing all of your shadows and potentially all of your stories that play out as thoughts in your mind, and being able to accept them and embrace them and love these parts of yourself. Because when you're able to send love to these parts, then you're able to start to heal them and let them go. Let them go. So I think that's most of what I wanted to share. I'm just going to see if there's anything else that wants to come through. Yeah, I think that's the most of what wants to come through of what I have to share today in this episode. But really, I wanted to share this episode with you to get you thinking about your wild woman. And I also want to take this opportunity to share with you something that I'm working on, something that I'm bringing back, that I used to teach probably about a year or two ago. And it is kind of very relative to the wild woman, because it is all about understanding who you are, understanding your identity and your values, your needs, your boundaries, your expectation, your fears, your desires, understanding everything, all of the aspects, even the shadows, and allowing you to work through these in a really supported and nurtured way with me in a one-on-one coaching program that I'm launching, the Empowered Soul. And this is going to be taking you through a week-by-week program where we'll go through various aspects that will guide you on a journey of self-discovery and reconnection to your raw, wild, and free self. And this is a really fantastic program that I'm offering to support my retreat clients, whether you've been or whether you would like to go, because it's almost a it's like a complementary program that goes along with my retreats. So it is going to be launching next year, but I just wanted to share it in this podcast because I'd like to be able to offer it to my loyal subscribers and listeners first as an exclusive offer. And I'm only taking on 9 women to go through this personalized program with me. So I really want to make sure that I can focus on you and your needs and supporting you and helping you in your journey of reconnection and rediscovery. So if this is something that you are interested in, you want to find out more, I am working on the details and I can share a little bit with you, but please reach out to me and we can set up a time to have a chat, or I can send you across some of the details that I'm working on. Other than that, I really just wanted to say look after yourself over the next week or so, and really focus on your connection, focus on something that allows you to feel grounded, something that allows you to feel grounded, because feeling grounded will allow you to avoid the chaos or avoid the, I don't know what the word is I'm looking for, I'm really losing my words, but to avoid the pressures or the anxieties in your day, in your normal routine, because it is quite easy to become stressed or to feel the pressure, particularly as everything starts to speed up and hurtle towards the end of the year. Really make sure that you're finding time for yourself. Okay, my loves, thank you so much for tuning in today and listening to this episode. I hope that you found some little nuggets of wisdom, or if there's something that you want to go back to and listen, particularly the points around what your inner wild woman needs. I would recommend going back to that. I'll see if I can bookmark them and pop them into the show notes so that you've got a reference. But sending you lots of love, lots of light, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.